Welcome everybody to Comnoi Kirkenstocks home podcast sponsored by www.reviewsofbooks.com. Fantastic website. I really hope you check it out. And please subscribe to my podcast. It means a lot to me. So tonight we're going to be reviewing We Are Completely Beside Ourselves by Fowler. This book right here. Fantastic book. One of my favorite reads so far. And first off, I'll start you off with a little bit of background information about it. A quick synopsis. So this is kind of what happens. It's about the Cook family, this family right here. Within the Cook family, our main character is Rosemary, and it's told by her in the past tense for the most part. But part of it is in the present tense, towards the end of the book. And she's raised by her parents with her brother Lowell and her sister Fern. Her dad's a professor at a local university, and when she is 1 month old, a 3-month-old chimp gets introduced to her life as her twin sister, Fern. They were treated exactly the same. Her parents, if one got something, the other got the exact same thing too. And they spent almost all their time together. They were always playing and goofing off and all that good stuff. You know what kids do. And then one day, she was sent to her grandma's house, Rosemary was. And she stayed there for a couple days. And then she went back to her house. And when she arrived back at her house, Fern was gone, and her parents told her that she went to be with her own kind, but she actually got locked up in a cage in some laboratory for animal testing. And Fern isn't talked about much again after this point, but her disappearance stays with Rosemary, and it haunts her really throughout her whole life, and it stays with the family too. She's constantly thinking about her, and they grew really similar, being around each other all the time. So like when she starts school, she gets the nickname Monkey Girl by her peers because she acts like a monkey. She acts like a chimp. She grew up with one. And so she always feels different than everyone else. After Fern's disappearance, it affects her whole family. Her mother becomes depressed. Her dad loses his reputation as a professor after the experiment's gone, and he turns into a drunk, and her relationship with her dad is practically gone. And her brother Lowell runs away and becomes an animal rights activist, and he is on a quest to free Fern. He is wanted by the FBI as a suspect in a arson at an animal lab. He just lit it on fire, burned the whole place down. And he's wanted by the FBI, and he's on the run, and he continues to free animals, and he visits Rosemary later on, and he tells her about what he did and everything that happened, and she lives a hard life growing up, and she struggles emotionally, and that's really where the heart of this book is. That's what it's about. It's about how this one event in her childhood really affected her and her family's whole lives, and how it just emotionally struck her so hard. And so that's all we got for the plot. I just wanted to give you guys a quick little something about it. Okay, so now it's time for the fun part, the literary analysis of our book, We Are Completely Beside Ourselves. Great novel. So unlike most traditional fiction novels, it's not about a quest to go save the earth and kill everyone. It is about how she was raised and how it affected her in the long run, and it's about her emotional life. And as you read, you're trying to pick apart her brain, trying to figure out questions you have that are left unanswered, as she does too, and she doesn't know the answers. And so she's trying to figure them out, you're trying to figure them out, and the book is just confusing at first. It's a slow start like the first 100 pages. But then, boom, plot twist. Her sister's a chimp. Like, what? You weren't expecting it at all, because she just talks about her as being her normal sister for the first 100 pages. And then it doesn't, like, you wonder why it doesn't include certain details like that, and why it includes others, and, like, you wonder why that's more important than other things to her. But the farther you read, it all starts to come together, and it makes sense. And it's a really just, like, psychological, intellectual book where you really got to think about things. And it's just about what the deeper message is. And you think about, in this book, you're constantly looking back and relating times now, events and stuff, to her childhood, and how the current event relates to her childhood. And the most prominent theme in this book, I would say, easily is nature versus nurture. The more you read, you soon realize how her behavior is related to the way she's raised. Her relationships with her siblings and parents drastically affect her personality in the long run. Growing up, her life was far from ordinary. Rather than being outside playing with all the kids, she was inside being observed and compared to Fern in labs. and she was part of an experiment, and her dad wasn't around much to really pay attention to her or anything unless he was studying her. And being constantly compared with Fern, she grew jealous, and it's the start of lifelong jealousy. And when Fern's removed, she doesn't have anybody to compare herself to, but she still compares herself to everyone, and she starts degrading herself, thinking how other girls are better than her and stuff. And then when Fern leaves, her dad becomes distant. Like, he becomes a drunk. That just makes it all the worse for her emotionally. And during the experiment, she felt important. All eyes were on her. When Fern leaves, so did the observers too. And so she constantly just wanted attention from her family, from her peers, from everyone. She just wanted to be noticed. And she was so like full of energy. She was full of freaking personality. But then the once talkative and energetic little girl with such a personality soon becomes quiet and keeps to herself. And she feels that no one cares about what she has to say anymore. It doesn't matter. Before, it really didn't matter because she was part of something. But now, it just doesn't. And she never speaks about her childhood or the fact that her sister's a chimp until she's about 20 years or old or so and says something to Harlow and finally opens up to her. And then another characteristic that promotes the argument of nature versus nurture is her habits. She jumps all over things. She climbs. She acts like a chimp. And like she was raised with one in the most developmental years of her life. And so she just has the same habits as Fern. And in grade school she becomes known as Monkey Girl. And since this all supports nurture versus nature and saying that nurture is the more deciding factor. And that's really what this book's about. And it's about animal cruelty and her brother's quest to go save Fern, and it's about how animals shouldn't be treated this way and how people shouldn't be treated this way because it shows how it affects it in the long run. And it's just simply an amazing book. I'd recommend it to all audiences. It's definitely a page turner. It keeps you wanting to know. It keeps you thinking. You want to know. You want to know all the answers, and that's why I love it. And it just delivers on them all to you right at the end. So that's all we have time for, folks. Thanks for watching Comnoi Kirkenstocks Late Night Book Review. Have a good night.